The voice of sharing, DurianASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene Tan and you are listening to the Durian Heat, where we discuss critical issues in Southeast Asia. This time we will discuss regarding the battle to save Tioman Island's coral reefs. Tioman is situated in Malaysia and at one time was considered the most beautiful islands in the world. Unfortunately, the island is under threat due to climate change and human beings. A lot of the coral reefs there are bleached and dying. I'll be speaking to two young scientists from Reef Check Malaysia on the importance of these precious, colorful coral reefs to our ecosystem.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
First of all, I would like to introduce Alvin and Sue from Reef Check Malaysia. How are you guys?
Hi, good morning.
You are good.
So, tell me more about what is exactly Reef Check Malaysia?
Okay, Reef Check Malaysia is actually an organization which is trying to conserve the reefs around the country. We are part of a global network. Okay, our main office is in America, and they have countries. They have offices in most of the coral reef countries. So we are basically focused around Malaysia.
So it's a global organization, but with a Malaysian chapter.
Yes, that's right.
Why reefs are such an endangered species, or is a huge problem nowadays?
Okay, before we go to reef, actually, reef are mixed up of corals, and they are actually living animals. Like in Malaysia, we call it bahasa, we call it batu karang, and a lot of people think they are actually stone. They are batu, but actually they are living organism. And these hard coral are the one that build the skeleton structure of the reef. So,
what do you mean by skeleton structure?
It's just like our bone. So they secrete calcium carbonate to build the reef structure. And this reef structure actually give the habitats for all the reef fish, nursery ground for the fish, and it protects our coastline. So normally when people say tsunami, mangrove are the first front line that defends the wave, they break the wave energy and all. But actually before it reaches the mangrove reef, actually break the wave energy and protect the coastline. That's where we get all the nice sandy beach from eroding away.
Ah, that's interesting. So in Malaysia, where is it located and what do you guys do exactly?
Our main office is in Kuala Lumpur, but we've got two more smaller branches, one in Pulau Tioman and one in Kota Kinabalu. However, we do surveys all around the country. So basically, most of the tourist destinations and most sites where there is a healthy coral reef, we've been monitoring the health for the last about 10 years now.
How do you monitor coral reefs? I'm quite curious because when I think about coral reefs, it's not like a fish. You don't exactly know whether it's dying or living. So how do you do it?
Okay, so when we say we monitor the health of the reef, it includes fish and invertebrates as well. So we are not just looking at the coral. What we are doing is we are doing a standardized survey method, which is called the Reef Check survey. And what we are doing is we are counting the abundance of certain indicator species, fish and invertebrates that can tell us something about the health of a reef. For example, we want to know how many groupers, how many snappers, your predators there are on a reef. Yeah, we are also looking at things like coral cover, how much live hard coral is there, how much live soft coral as to compare to just sponge and algae. So this will let us know how healthy a reef is, and it also makes more sense over time where we can see if there's a decline or an increase in fish numbers or coral cover.
In Malaysia, what is the state of health for majority of the reefs right now?
Okay, according to one reef category, ours is under fair conditions. So we look at the percentage of live coral cover, meaning the soft coral and hard coral combined together. So on average is in fair condition.
In fair condition.
Yes.
Would that mean that it's quite healthy, or it still needs some sort of protection?
it still needs some sort of protection and depends on island base, because once we average it out, so it look like all the reef are in fair condition. But if we look at certain island and certain sites on its own, some reef are doing well, but some reef we need a lot of protection and conservation work to increase the hard coral cover.
What is the biggest threat to reefs right now? Is it human cause, or is it because of the changes of climate?
Well, for Malaysia, the main threats, you can divide it for Peninsula and Sabah and Sarawak. In Sabah and Sarawak, the main problem is destructive fishing habits, like using bombs, homemade bombs to catch fish.
Oh, they still do that?
Yes, they still. And for Peninsula, the biggest problem is actually development. The tourism industry is growing at such a fast rate, and the islands cannot handle it.
You mean the amount of tourists that come?
Yes, as well as the amount of development on the island itself, the number of resorts being put up, the number of land being cleared, the amount of land being cleared to build these new resorts.
But it's on the land, so how does development actually impact the reefs?
Okay, coral reefs are the whole ecosystem on an island is very connected. Whatever happens on land influences the water. So for example, when we are building more and more resorts, okay, we are having more people coming into the island, and these people need to use the toilet, right? So where does the sewage go? If it's not treated properly, if there isn't a proper way of dealing with the sewage, it goes into the rivers. This ends up in the reefs. And this would cause a problem whereby the amount of nutrient would cause algae to grow, and this would overgrow corals. That's one example. Another example is trash. Again, with the number of tourists on land and with the irresponsible habits of theirs where they just litter around, this trash makes its way back onto the reef, and this kills animals, kills coral as well, smothers it. Yeah, and with clearing for development as well, when you clear land, you cause siltation. There's runoff with the rain and through the rivers and even directly into the reef, and this smothers the coral reef. The sand, the silt from land would blanket the living coral and smother them. So these are just some of the ways how land activities.
But what about climate change? Does it really impact it? Because I think there are a couple of news talking about how climate change have caused reefs to discolor in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. I don't know whether the same thing is happening in Malaysia right now.
Yeah, it is happening in Malaysia, but it's not as severe as in Australia right now. So climate change, it is natural, but because of human impacts, we kind of intensified the severity of climate change. So with our ways of running our activities, daily activities, we kind of like catalyze, being a catalyst that's triggered this climate change and intensify the severity like I mentioned earlier. Like right now, we have this sea surface temperature, but in Malaysia it's not that bad. We start to have a coral bleaching, but it's still under control right now.
How bad is the one in Australia?
Yeah, we've been seeing articles like up to 90% bleached in
to the
certain.
extent that the Australian government wanted to censor that information, I think in the highest level at United Nations, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure about that, but it's pretty bad there. And even our neighboring countries like Indonesia, our friends from Reef Check Indonesia have been telling us that they've been having a lot of bleaching. And even in Malaysia, actually, the bleaching in this country started pretty late compared to other places. But over the past month, we have seen bleaching increase on Tioman, in Redang, in Perhentian. And I recently just came back from doing surveys in Tenggol, and Pulau Tenggol was pretty bad. Some sites was up to 50-60%.
Where's Pulau Tenggol, by the way? Just for the benefit of our listeners.
Tenggol is just off the coast of Dungun, Kuala Dungun.
Okay.
Yeah, and because that island is used to generally colder waters, and our waters have recently been around 31-32 degrees, so the reefs there is bleached, and actually quite a significant amount of coral there have actually died because of the bleaching.
Okay. This is the impact of El Nino, I think, in the past months.
Yes, you're right. So global climate change, you're right, it does have threats, and these are what we consider as global threats that are happening on such a large scale. There's nothing we can really do on the ground compared to local threats like sewage and pollution and trash and irresponsible tourism.
Anyway, we'll take a short break. When we return, we will discuss one of their project called Cintai Tioman.
You're now listening to DurianASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.
The voice of sharing. DurianASEAN.
Welcome back. This is Arlene Tan from DurianASEAN. We are still with Alvin and Sue from Reef Check Malaysia, and this time they will be sharing more about one of their coolest project called Cintai Tioman.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
So, welcome back, guys.
Hey.
So,
First of all, I want to ask you, what exactly is Cintai Tioman?
okay, Cintai Tioman is a 5-year program under Reef Check Malaysia, and Cintai Tioman is actually about building the resilience of coral reef and the resilience of the local community on the islands. So, like I mentioned just now, corals are actually living animals, and they build the reef, and the reef play a vital role in the marine ecosystem, acting as a habitat and nursery. But we mentioned just now also that the reef are degrading in the world as well as in Malaysia. So we are not exempted from all the issues or the problems that everywhere around the world facing. So with the resilience, by building the resilience, we hope that we will give the corals a fighting chance to recover from all these human impacts and global, especially global impacts where we don't have a control. We have limited control. Like Alvin mentioned just now, local impacts, we can do something about it physically. We can reduce it, we can stop it. But for global, we can't do anything. But by building the resilience of the reef, we give them a good fighting chance. Yeah.
Okay.
And if I can butt in, the difference with Cintai Tioman is this time we are also looking into the local community aspect of this, and we are working with Eco-Nights as our partner on this, because we are more towards the reef stuff, but Eco-Nights are more towards the social stuff.
Yeah, the general awareness about climate change and other environmental issues.
True, getting them involved. And we also want to make sure that the local community is resilient to adapt to climate change, because if everyone is just hoping on the reefs to provide an income, and if something happens to the reefs, then the locals are going to be out of a job. So we're trying to diversify what the locals can do to generate money as well.
Tell me, what were the attitude of the locals in the past?
It's been interesting. When we first started, I think it was like, oh, here are some guys again, another project, another
Oh, they are
group
used to like people coming in and out.
Many people come in, many universities, different NGOs come in, do a short stint and leave. And I think it's gotten to a point where they've been like, oh, here's another one with another project. So it took some time for them to take us seriously and to see like, all right, these guys are here to stick around for a while, longer than a weekend. And it's actually quite interesting. Right now we've got quite a good support from the locals. We've had quite a few of them who we've trained up, and they work closely with us and with the Department of Marine Parks. And more and more are asking about it and getting involved. So yeah, it took a while initially, but right now it's nice. We're getting more and more support from them.
So what was the kind of I would say grassroots engagement that you are actually hoping for from the community?
Okay, so with the community, what we're really hoping is that they would get more involved with the management and the protection of the local environment, right? For the longest time it's been, okay, the government's in charge of that. It's not my problem. The government should
Sounds
be doing
like a
that.
very Malaysian attitude for
Yeah.
almost everything.
True. But sadly, if anything does happen to the island and they do lose their reefs, the locals on the islands are the ones that are going to suffer the most. Because if we lose the reefs and the tourists don't come anymore, they've basically
So they depend solely on tourism for Tioman, right? Do they depend on fisheries or any other side
Mainly
income?
tourism, like I would say about
90%.
90%.
Because Tioman is a marine protected area, so you are not allowed to fish within 2 nautical miles from the low tide mark. So if you want to do fishing, it needs to be deep sea offshore fishing, and there's a small number of people who do rubber plantations and stuff like that, but basically the majority is all focused on tourism.
What are the biggest problems that the locals share with you when the first time you came there, and then you just the kind of, I would say, impact that the coral reefs have, caused their livelihood or whatever?
I would say the biggest problems they talked about was trash. Trash is a big issue on the island, and previously there wasn't a way of handling the trash on the island. Everything was being sent out. So that was a big one. Secondly, I would say,
so this the trash system or the sewage. What about the sewage system?
Sewage is the next
Also
biggest problem. Because it's a small island. They don't have a centralized sewage treatment facility, so each resort has its own septic tank kind of things, and this needs maintenance and upkeep, and it's expensive on an island. So
and there's no standardization, like a structure that can monitor how each of the resorts can perform to sort of like fill the checkpoint that they want to, for each island they want to sort of focus on. But for you guys, Tioman is not a small island. I've been there once. There's so many resorts. There are 5-star resorts. They're also like those kind of like backpackers in.
Yes.
So how do you guys engage with everyone there?
It's difficult. But so basically, like you said, Tioman is big and it's quite spread out, and different villages tend to cater to different
Tourist
groups
market,
of tourists. So we usually go to that resort and then see how they operate, what is their target, and then try to sort their problems out. So it's a very specific, each group you're talking to, each resort you're talking to, you need to find what's their problems, what's their main issues, and then how is it going to help them the most. What we are doing, how can so it's
what about those
case to case.
5-star hotels? Do you guys work with them as well?
We do, but most of these larger 5-star hotels, they've kind of got everything in place. They've got a proper sewage system going on. They've got some kind of waste management system going on.
But only within their own vicinity.
Yes,
not the
true.
whole island.
Yes, correct. So that's the thing with that.
I see. So what do you go there often to
Yes.
Tioman?
Yes, we live there.
Oh,
Actually.
you live there. What are the interesting stuff about Tioman that people might not know? Because when we talk about, at least among the locals, when you talk about like going for an island vacation in the country, they would probably think about Terengganu, Langkawi, or as far as Sabah. But some of the people actually talk about Tioman. When Tioman, I think back in the days, it was voted one of the best islands in the world by Time magazine.
Yeah, so actually, like people always think that Tioman is for snorkeling and diving. But people, most of them, they do know that you can do rock climbing in Tioman. They have this gunung which is about 1 kilometer height.
Oh wow, 1 kilometer height.
Yeah, it's about 1 kilometer, and people do proper rock climbing, and you can go for jungle trek, and you can see Rafflesia in Tioman.
Oh wow,
And
really?
Yes.
Oh
and
my
a lot of
god,
people
I
didn't know
missed that.
Yeah, so we have a mangrove forest there. You have waterfall, like nice waterfall. So Tioman is just not about marine, but you have a lot of nice terrestrial activities as well. So like what Alvin said, we are trying to get the local to understand, like, you don't always have to depend on the coral reef. You can diversify your income source from to the terrestrial part. So in other way, you can also reduce the impact on the coral. So you kind of like shift some of the impacts, not to say impact, but the pressure on the corals. You spread it out. Yeah.
And I think for tourists, they will be excited too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. In terms of trying to get more people engaged. Of course, you have the community and you have your own team. But what about the tourists? Because when I was there, I remember that, if I could make use of my time, besides, going on, the usual round the island trip and stuff, volunteerism could be a form of tourism on its own.
Yes, actually, in Tioman, we have there's this NGO called Jara Teta Project, where they get volunteers staying there for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. It depends on the volunteer, and they do help to patrol the beach, check on the turtle nests, and they help them to protect the turtle nests, the turtle eggs, and all, collect them and take care of them. And when it's hatched, they will release it. So there's a form of volunteerism going on in Tioman.
What about Reefs awareness among the tourists? Like, do you guys do any awareness sort of joint venture with guides?
Yeah, actually, part of our Cintai Tioman program is the responsible tourism bit, where we are talking to resorts as well as dive shop operators and snorkel guides. And we're trying to get the tourists more involved, okay? And we've got the basic banners, and now we've got room info sheets telling guests like what you should be doing, what you should not be doing. But we're also trying to get tourists to support the environmentally friendly businesses. So we have some dive shops that are Green Fins certified, and
what is Green Fin?
Green Fins is actually a kind of certification. It's by the United Nations under the environmental program to say that this dive shop has signed up to 15 codes of conduct, and they are going to work towards achieving all these 15 codes of conduct, and this would help them reduce their impact to the environment. And in the similar way, we've got a snorkeling program as well, where we are training snorkel guides how to be more environmentally friendly. And those that do the course with us, it is free because it's only for the local islanders, and it's sponsored by the Department of Marine Parks Malaysia. And those that have passed the course, they get assessed once a year to see if they are following to their standards. And we are trying to get locals, the tourists, to say like, okay, I'm going to go with this guide. He might be a bit more expensive, but we are trying to get them to support them. And we want to show the other locals that, look, by being environmentally friendly, you can earn more. You can generate even more income. You don't have to feed fish to attract people. You don't have to catch turtles and show it to people to attract them. So this is how we are trying to get the tourists involved and more educated and raise awareness.
That's very exciting. Anyway, this is the end of our discussion today. Thank you everyone, Alvin and Sue, and all the best for Cintai Tioman. Is there anywhere that people can actually look at your activities and maybe contribute?
Oh yeah, they can check out our website and also Facebook. So they can just go. Actually, it's easier to go to the Facebook page because we update our Facebook page constantly. So just type Cintai Tioman and you can check out like what Alvin said, all the programs and all the environmental friendly business operators there, and support them.
Amazing.
And don't forget to like Cintai Tioman.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for tuning into DurianASEAN. For more interviews by DurianASEAN, please tune into our website at DurianASEAN.com. If you're on the go, you can always download our TuneIn app on your mobile. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels at DurianASEAN and DurianASEAN TV. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram. We always welcome feedbacks from our listeners. Stay tuned with the Durian Heat from Tuesday to Thursday, the same time at 1 to 2 p.m. GMT+8.
You're now listening to DurianASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.